This is Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review with your NHL Early Lines report for the games taking place on Tuesday, November 29th. A busy hockey card to break down, and we're going to begin with the Tampa Bay Lightning Columbus Blue Jackets on the Tuesday NHL slate. And this is a rematch of a game that just took place between these two teams last Friday, and it was the Columbus Blue Jackets as underdogs in Tampa, taking down the Lightning and emerging victorious with a 5-3 victory. And now Tampa Bay will be looking for some payback now as they face the Jackets here in Columbus on Tuesday night. But I do have some concerns with Tampa Bay. The revenge motive is one thing on their side, no question. Tampa Bay does have some injury concerns that are definitely something you need to be aware of. Andre Palat is potentially out for this game due to injury. JT Brown has missed the last two games with an upper body injury. He may not be able to suit up. They're already without Steven Stamkos, their captain, of course, who's out long term, along with Anton Strawman, who's at least going to be out until the beginning of December. So injury concerns piling up here for this Tampa Bay team, and let's not sell Columbus short. I think people have done that a lot so far. John Tortorella is not a coach that a lot of people like or think is one of the better coaches in the NHL at times. He can push the wrong buttons, but he's got Columbus playing relatively well. 11-9 on the season, very good at home. 7-4 home record here for the Columbus Blue Jackets at Nationwide Arena. Playing good hockey. They've have won 5 of their last 8 games, 5-3 in their last 8 games, so a pretty good record during that span. So very good stuff from this Columbus Blue Jackets team, and I'd be reluctant to go against them. I mean, we're talking about an even money price with a team that's got a very good home record against a Tampa Bay team that is injury riddled and is coming into this game. They do have revenge on their side for losing, as I said, to Columbus on Friday, but don't want to sell the Jackets short. I'd probably lean slightly to Tampa Bay, but respect the way Columbus is playing, and for that reason, a short price tag like this for a team that's played well on home ice, going to leave that game alone. Next game we're going to look at Boston, Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Flyers continue to be a disappointment as far as I'm concerned this season. It's not been very good for them. They've not played the kind of hockey that people were expecting. I thought this team was going to be pretty good, but it hasn't worked out well so far for this hockey team. 10-13 they are on the season. They did get a nice win in their last game at home against Calgary, but Calgary not exactly playing good hockey either right now, so I don't know if you want to read too much into that. But the problem for them remains not enough goal offense at times. They've struggled. They've sputtered a little bit offensively, and at times their goaltending from Steve Mason and Michael Neuwirth hasn't been good enough. And defensively, they've given up a few too many shots at times. That's a concern. And now you've got a couple of key injuries. Brandon Manning on the blue line may not play in this game. Of course, Sean Couturier is out long term due to injury, out until January. So you got some issues here with this Flyers team. Their home record's not great. They're 6-7, and they're facing a Boston team that we've talked about it last year. We've talked about it many times this year already here on our NHL videos. Boston, a better road team than they are at the TD Garden at home. It's the way it was last year. It's the way it's been so far this year as well. And it's really kept up that way. I mean, you look at Boston, their last 4 home games, they went 2-2. But on the road, this has been a pretty good hockey team. They have a winning road record. Only way I could bet this game is Boston. Not really getting a great price here. I mean, odds makers did a good job here. They know Boston's been pretty good on the road, 7-5. Philadelphia's struggling, so you don't have a bargain here to back Boston, but if I had to, I'd lean to the Bruins on the road in that game. Buffalo, Ottawa, next game. Jack Eichel might be making his season debut here for the Buffalo Sabres. What a boost it would be to this team. They've had so many problems scoring goals. Evander Kane's been in and out of the lineup. They've had Tyler Ennis has been out. Now they've got two blue liners, Zach Bogosian and Dmitry Kulikov, who are going to be out for quite some time. So it's just been a cavalcade of injury concerns and lack of scoring, really, for the Buffalo Sabres. That's been a big reason why they're just 2-8 in their last 10 games. Just been an awful run for this team. And when you look at their goals, God, it's horrendous. I mean, we're talking about a team that has scored 2 goals or less in 9 of their last 10 games. 2 goals or less. in 9 of their last 10 games. That's just not going to get the job done. You're not going to win games in the NHL on a routine basis, not putting the biscuit in the basket, not putting the puck in the net. Right now, they can't put a puck in the ocean right now if they were given the opportunity. So that's the issue right now with this Buffalo team. But obviously, if Jack Eichel comes back, and it's not confirmed yet, but if he does return for this game, what a boost it would be to this Buffalo Sabres team offensively. And I think it'll be an emotional lift, too. I mean, you get your second overall pick, your first round pick back from last year's draft back on the ice. If they get him back for this game, it could be a little pep in the step of this Buffalo Sabres team. Ottawa, playing good hockey. Ottawa's won 4 in a row, beating Montreal, Boston, Kakalaki, the Hurricanes, and the Rangers during that time. At home, it's been pretty good, 8-5 for this team on home ice, Ottawa. Buffalo, though, might be a live dog if Eichel plays. I don't think I'd touch Buffalo here if he doesn't, but if he comes back, I could see that. Not so much that Eichel's going to set the world on fire and play great right away, especially the fact he's been off, hasn't played yet all season long, but it's just the emotional lift and the energy spike that you might get from the Buffalo team as a whole by having Jack Eichel possibly back on the ice for this game. That could go a long way and maybe give the Sabres a chance to pull off a little bit of an upset here as an underdog in Ottawa. We've got New Jersey and Winnipeg on the Tuesday card. I think the Winnipeg Jets, they didn't really play great in snapping what would have been an ugly 5-game losing streak when they beat Nashville on Sunday at home 3-0. But, they were better defensively. I know they gave up a lot of shots in that game, but they still kept the chances at a minimum, capitalized on their chances from a goal-scoring perspective. And the Winnipeg team really should benefit from potentially having Brian Little back. Brian Little hasn't played in a long, long time. He might return for this game against the New Jersey Devils. One of their top centers. Be a huge boost to this Jets team, which has struggled to score goals themselves as of late. We're talking about a Jets team that, prior to scoring those 3 goals against Nashville, they'd scored 2 goals or less, although 2 of those goals were empty net goals, so really they only scored 1 in that game. So it's been real bad for this Winnipeg team in terms of scoring lately, but having Brian Little back would help. And New Jersey is funny. This Devils team, we think of them as an under team, and they have been for years, but with John Hines as the head coach, they really are trying to push the pace. They're trying to be more aggressive on offense with the puck, and we've seen evidence of that the last 3 games. Last 3 New Jersey games, they've all flown over the total, 5-4, 5-4, 4-3 final scores in their last 3 games against Toronto, Detroit, and Pittsburgh. Starting to change their spots a little bit, and they're also giving up more shots. They've given up 41, 31, 33, 49 shots against in their last 4 games. Mike Camilleri has recently returned from injury. That's a big boost to the offense, one of their top goal scorers. And then once they get Taylor Hall back, you could make some money, I think, betting New Jersey games over the total. The odds makers haven't caught up. Total for this game against Winnipeg is 5. I think there's value over the total right now with New Jersey. They're trying to push the pace. They're trying to be aggressive, trying to score goals, and they're also not been quite as locked down defensively in recent games. So I think you got some value to bet New Jersey Devil games right now, at least in the short term, up and over the total. I'd lean over the total in this game. Probably would also lean to Winnipeg. I think Winnipeg might get some momentum from that win against Nashville. They played good on home ice, 7-4 at home. New Jersey's just 3-9 on the road. So got to lean to Winnipeg and also over the total in this game. Florida, Chicago, interesting game because I was absolutely on Sunday night just absolutely shocked that Gerard Gallant was fired by the Florida Panthers. You look at this Florida team with the injuries they've had. They're still trying to plug in their young players. It's not like they've played horrible hockey this season. They're an 11-11 team. They're a 500 team. Okay, maybe it's not what you hoped for a team that was in the playoffs last year, but their puck possession numbers are solid. They're not giving up a ton of shots on goal on a game-by-game basis. But still, they decided to fire the coach, and after their 3-2 loss to Carolina on Sunday night, just really bizarre decision. I don't think it was warranted, at least in terms of the performance on the ice. Apparently the reason Gerard Gallant was fired is because there was a big clash of thinking, clash of philosophies between Gallant and the management, Dale Talon, the GM Tom Rowe. And it is the GM Tom Rowe, by the way, that is taking over as the interim head coach for Florida, starting with this game against the Chicago Blackhawks. So it'll be interesting to see how this team responds. From what I've read, the players really like Gerard Gallant. Having said that, it doesn't seem to matter just how much the players like that coach specifically. I find, still that first game after a coaching change, it gets everybody's attention. Players have a little more focus, a little more intensity, a little bit more urgency, saying, uh-oh, there's a new guy behind the bench now coaching this team. We better do something to show we deserve our spot on this roster. So for that reason, I still think you're going to get a spike in effort here from Florida in this game. And it's a little bit of a tough spot for Chicago. Chicago is coming off just an absolutely that circus road trip every year that they go on. It's a brutal 7-game road trip, a long one. Winnipeg, Calgary, Vancouver, Edmonton, San Jose, Anaheim, LA. 7-game road trip. Now you're back home. And this is always a dubious spot. A first game back home off a long 7-game road trip like this. You just don't have your legs. Don't bring that energy to the rink. It's a big concern, and for that reason, I could only back Florida here at the plus price. In fact, we're going to come back to this game for play of the day at the end of this video. Nashville, Colorado. Nashville's terrible on the road. Nashville is just absolutely awful on the road. I cannot lay this price with Nashville on the road, period. I'm talking about a team that's 2-9 on the road. 2-9. They've been great at home, but until they start to show me they can play good hockey on the road, I want no part of the Nashville Predators away from home. And they've got injury concerns with James Neal on IR, Ryan Ellis on the blue line on IR. So there's some concerns here in terms of injuries with this Nashville team. Now, Colorado's banged up a little bit too. Eric Johnson may not play due to a illness. Gabe Landeskog's been out for a few games now with a lower body injury. Varlamov's injured. Rene Bourque may not play in this game. So Colorado's got some issues too, but there's no choice for me to be made in this game. No decision has to be made. It's Colorado or nothing. Nashville's been dreadful on the road, and maybe Colorado at a nice plus price worth a look there. Toronto, Edmonton, great game this should be. Two of the fastest, youngest, but speediest, most talented young teams in the NHL. Great skill on both sides. Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, these great Leaf rookies. Edmonton's got McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, Eberle. There should be a ton of speed. Lots of an exciting game. This is a rematch of the first meeting between these teams in Toronto, and the Leafs won it in overtime, so it's revenge for Edmonton. And Toronto's been, not very good on the road. I mean, Toronto 1-9 on the road. Toronto 1-9. That's awful. And then Toronto, like Nashville, when it comes to them on the road, I can't support them. Although it wouldn't surprise me to see Toronto maybe finally break the schneid and get a road win. Edmonton, they've looked a little shaky in the last few games. Back-to-back losses to Arizona, including a loss 2-1 at home against Arizona. That's definitely not a good sign for this team. Tough game. I think the best play maybe over the total. I do think you're going to see goals. I think both teams are going to want to push the pace, lean to that game over the total. And we'll wrap it up with Montreal and Anaheim. Montreal is a tough team to go against. I mean, I keep waiting for this team to regress at least a little bit. 16-6. They're getting lucky in a few games, I will say that. I mean, they've been outshot now in 2 back-to-back games, but they won both of them against Carolina and then against Detroit in overtime on Saturday. Now they go on the road, face an Anaheim team that's very capable. They won their last game in San Jose 3-2. Oddly enough, Anaheim struggled a little bit on home ice. They're just 6-5 at home. Montreal's got a great home record, been a little bit average on the road. 4-4 Montreal on the road. Good little test for them here in this game. They rely so much, though, on Carey Price. I still think this team is okay, but without Carey Price, you take him off this team, I think they're an average to good team at best. They're not a cup contender. They are a cup contender with Price, but without him, I don't think they're even close to a Stanley Cup contender, so that tells you how important he is to this team. I would actually lean Anaheim. I mean, I still think there's going to be some spots to bet against Montreal coming up. Maybe this is one of them, so I'll lean to the Ducks there. All right, let's wrap it up. It's play of the day time for the Tuesday, November 29th NHL card. We're going back to that Florida-Chicago game. I think the spot is great for Florida. The coaching change, Tom Rowe, the GM, slides in as the interim head coach. I think it gets the players' attention. I think they bring a big effort, and I'm not sure we're going to get Chicago's A game in this one. Chicago off that long road trip, which they didn't exactly play great on that road trip either. The Chicago Blackhawks. Now you're back home. It's going to be tough to get up for this game. They might be without their captain, Jonathan Toews, who's missed the last 2 games due to an upper body injury. He may not return for this one. Tough spot for Chicago, and I think it's a good spot for a step-up effort for Florida. So let's go with the Florida Panthers plus 130. That's rotation number 63. Florida Panthers plus 130 to get the underdog win in Chicago. That's your play of the day for Tuesday, November 29th in the NHL. All right, that will wrap up my look at the NHL early lines for Tuesday, November 29th. I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review. Until next time, enjoy the games and good luck.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.